I measured time in drips, not the frantic patter of a storm, but the slow, deliberate fall of a single drop from a metal tip onto a wooden floor. A tiny, dark circle that spreads, then fades, then is replaced by another, each one a period at the end of a sentence I can no longer remember. I was left open, a broken promise of shelter, my canopy stretched wide in a permanent, silent scream. The fabric, once a deep and confident black, is now a tired gray, mapped with the fine, pale lines of settled dust. My ribs, the slender bones of my form, ache with a tension they were never meant to hold for so long. They were designed for the fight, for the wind and the downpour, and then for the quiet relief of release, the gentle collapse into rest. But there has been no rest, only this static vigil in the narrow throat of a home that has forgotten how to breathe. The world, for me, is a corridor, a long, dim space, bookended by two doors. One leads outside to a world of changing light and seasons I can only guess at. The other leads deeper inside to the rooms where life used to happen. Now, it is a tomb of echoes. The light is my only clock. In the morning, a thin, apologetic blade of sun slices under the front door, slowly crawling across the floorboards, illuminating the dust motes that dance in the still air like tiny, forgotten souls. It warms a small patch of wood for a few minutes, a fleeting memory of a world that contains heat before retreating. The afternoon is a long, gray sigh, and the night is absolute, a thick, heavy blanket of darkness, punctuated only by the artificial orange glow that bleeds from the streetlights, a ghost of a day that has passed. The sounds are few, the groan of the building settling, the distant mournful siren of a city that never sleeps, the shudder of the floorboards when he walks overhead, his steps heavy, measured, a rhythm of regret. He never comes down here anymore, not since the first few weeks, when he would stand at the top of the stairs and just look. His gaze would pass over me, through me, as if I were nothing more than a shadow, a stain. Then he would retreat, and the silence would rush back in, heavier than before. I remember her hand. That is the sharpest memory, the one that the dust cannot soften. Her grip was always gentle, but firm, a partnership. We would face the sky together. The day she left me here, her hand was different. It was cold, trembling, not from the chill of the rain, but from something deep inside her, a tremor that traveled from her heart, down her arm, into her fingers, and then into my own handle. I felt her fear. It became a part of me, a cold hum in my metal skeleton. She didn't close me. She just let go. I fell against the wall, my canopy still wide, and the water I had collected for her, the water I had shielded her from, began to drip onto the floor. One drop, then another, a slow, weeping farewell. That was the last sound she ever made in this house, the sound of leaving. The rain is a trigger. Even now, when I hear its faint, muffled drumming on the roof, a ghost of a sensation returns, the feeling of being unfurled, of my fabric snapping taut, of my purpose being realized. I was born for the storm. I lived in the dark closet, a slender, dormant thing, waiting for the sky to weep. She would open the door, and the scent of cedar and old coats would be disturbed. Her hand would find me in the dark. "There you are," she'd sometimes whisper, as if I were a lost pet. And then, the glorious rush of the outside, the roar of the city, the hiss of tires on wet pavement, the symphony of a world being washed clean. We walked through countless downpours, I remember the way the city lights would fracture and bleed across my wet skin, turning the dark canvas into a kaleidoscope of neon reds and blues. I was her portable night sky, her personal shield. Beneath me, the world was muted. The roar of the rain became a gentle, percussive hum. It was our secret space, a bubble of quiet in the middle of the chaos. I heard their voices through the wood of the closet door. They were fragments, pieces of a story I could never fully grasp. His voice was a low rumble, like distant thunder. Hers, a melody that had learned to carry a note of strain. "You can't keep doing this," I heard him say once, his voice tight, a long silence. Then her reply, so quiet I could barely hear it. "I don't know what else to do." Another time, there was laughter, bright, genuine laughter from both of them. It vibrated through the floor, a warmth that reached me even in my darkness. They were happy then, or they were good at pretending. The arguments became more frequent in the final year. The words were sharp, clipped. "It's not what you think." "Then what is it? Tell me." The silences between the words were the worst part. They were heavy, filled with things I could feel, but not understand. A pressure building, the air growing thick and static, like the moments before a lightning strike. In the past, I was an accessory to her life. I leaned against the wall by the door, ready. I was carried, hooked over her arm on cloudy days. I was a part of her movement, her purpose. Now, I am an obstacle, a piece of forgotten scenery. The dust on my skin is a testament to the stillness. My purpose was to move, to open and close, to feel the rain and the sun. My present is this absolute, unchanging state. I remember the feeling of the wind trying to turn me inside out, a thrilling battle of wills. Now, the only air that touches me is stagnant, moving only when a door opens far away, a weak, tired sigh that does little more than stir the dust. I was a tool of protection. Now, I am a monument to a failure, the ultimate failure. The turning point was a Tuesday. It had been raining all day, a miserable, gray drizzle that promised to turn into a downpour. The air in the house was thick with another one of their silent wars. He left in the morning, the slam of the door, a punctuation mark. She stayed inside, a ghost in her own home, moving from room to room. I watched her from my place by the door. Her face was pale, her eyes distant. When the evening came, the rain grew heavier. It was a violent, angry storm, the kind that rattled the windows. She stood by the door for a long time, just watching the water stream down the glass. Then, with a sudden, sharp intake of breath, she turned, grabbed her coat, and took me. Her hand was ice. The tremor was violent now. We didn't walk far, just to the end of the street. She stood under a streetlight, the rain hammering down on me, a deafening drum solo. She wasn't waiting for anyone. She was just standing, breathing, as if the cold, clean air was the only thing keeping her from shattering. Then she turned and walked back. He was home. His car was in the driveway. The front door opened before she reached it. He stood there, silhouetted in the warm light of the hallway. He said her name, just her name. It wasn't a question. It was an accusation. She walked past him, into the house, and as she passed the wall, where I now stand, she simply let her hand fall away. I clattered against the floor, my canopy wide open. I saw her walk towards the stairs. I saw him watch her. He didn't move. The last thing I heard was the soft click of their bedroom door closing upstairs. An hour later, I heard the front door open and close again, very softly. the sound of his car starting, and then nothing. The next morning, he came down. He looked at me, lying open, a puddle forming beneath me. He looked at the closed bedroom door. He walked into the kitchen and made coffee. She never came down. He never went up. The dripping was the only sound in the house for 2 days. I have learned the language of silence. It is a language of infinite nuance. There is the heavy, watchful silence of the first few days, when the air itself seemed to be holding its breath. There is the hollow, echoing silence of the weeks that followed, when the house began to feel too large for one person. And now, there is this, the dry, dusty silence of acceptance, the silence of a place that has given up its ghosts. He eventually moved out. Strangers came, their voices loud and intrusive. They pointed at me. "Should we throw this out?" A woman asked. "Leave it," a man replied. "Maybe it's vintage." They do not know that I am not an object. I am a witness. I am the final word in a conversation they will never hear. I am the keeper of the last drop of a storm that had nothing to do with the weather. I am an umbrella. My function is simple, to keep the water away, to create a small, dry space in a wet world. But the water I hold now is not rain. It is time. It is memory. It is the weight of a single, unanswered question. Humans think of objects as silent, passive things. They believe we have no memory because we have no voice. But we remember everything. We remember the warmth of a hand, the weight of a glance, the echo of a final word. We are the archives of their lives, holding the moments they are so desperate to forget. Humans mark their lives with calendars and clocks. I mark mine by the spaces between footsteps, by the dust that settles in the quiet. The rain always stops, but some things never dry.